Welcome to Solo, the single person's guide to a remarkable life. Your host, a behavioral scientist and bachelor, talks to leading experts and successful singles about living solo and living well. Travel more, make things, sleep in when you want to. Here's the playbook for the person who is unapologetically unattached. Now, please welcome Dr. Peter McGraw.
Welcome back. In this episode, I invite back a remarkable friend, Julie Nirvelli, to kick off a series on how to make remarkable friends. We define what a friend is and what makes a friend remarkable. We also discuss some tips on how to make and maintain friendships, including when to move fast and when to move slow. It's a fun conversation, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Let's get started. Welcome to Solo, the single person's guide to a remarkable life. I'm Peter McGraw. Today's return guest is Julie Nirvelli. Julie was born and raised in San Jose, California, and earned her college degree from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. She's lived in Colorado for 16 years, and as a strong, independent, and fun-loving person, Julie embraces her solo life. Nevermore is that on display from her participation in this podcast. Episode 1, Introduction to Solo. Episode 10, What Makes Life Remarkable. Episode 18, Solo Entrepreneurship. Episode 50, Looking Forward and Looking Back. And most recently in episode 52, Selling to Singles, which coincided with the launch of her new business, Bachelor Girl Productions, which features flirty shirts that invite conversation. You can find those at bachelorgirlproductions.com. Welcome back, Julie.
Hello, and hello, everybody. I'm excited to be back. I always have so much fun recording these with you.
The people are either going, oh, yeah, wow, it's Julie, or they're going, oh, no.
Not her again.
Oh, my God. Pete, find a new friend. So Julie keeps saying yes, thankfully, in part because she's a friend and can't say no, and in part because
I'm enthusiastic about this.
Exactly.
I love this project. I think it's such a great project, and so many people are enjoying it, and there's a need for it, and there's nothing else like this.
Well, that's good because you're telling your dates about it. So I'm gathering listeners.
I wonder how many people I've turned on to this.
Hey, guy, if you're listening to this and Julie told you about it, you're not the only one.
Oh my word. I'm outed.
So regular listeners will know that I have a saying, and that is a single should have
a team.
A team. That's right, Julie. Single should have a team. And I've decided to do a series on this topic. I don't even know. This is how spontaneous I'm being. I had a chance to see Julie, and I decided to do this series, and I don't even know what the other episodes are going to be yet.
Okay, but it's a series starting with this.
With this one, this is sort of an introduction to the series about how to make remarkable friends.
Okay.
Right, so how to have a team there. And that actually is sort of personal and professional friends, experts, and so on. And this is, I think, completely critical.
Yeah.
And this is worthwhile for us to talk about because we are
a team.
And yes, and a remarkable set of friends at that, yes. In my opinion. At least you're on the remarkable side.
I don't think I'd still be here if you weren't.
That's nice. Julie, why don't you start by telling the story of how we met?
Oh, okay.
I think it may have come up before, but I think it's important because we've been friends. So you've been in Colorado for 16 years at this point. And we've been friends for 16 years.
Yep.
And I have also moved to Colorado around that same time. So how do we get going?
Yeah, I think this is a great topic for this, talking about remarkable friends, because it all started when we met. So we were both living in Boulder, not too far from Pearl Street.
And Pearl Street's sort of the downtown pedestrian mall. It's kind of Main Street in Boulder.
Yeah, lots of restaurants and very walkable. Cute neighborhood, 2 doors down from the Mork and Mindy house.
Mm-hmm.
So I had been living there, and Pete moved in, and we ran into each other in the parking area. And he said, "Hey, I'm new to town." And I said, "Oh, welcome." And
I had no friends. I mean, I knew some people at the university, but I had no friends. Like, it's not like I had a family member in the state or someone I knew from Denver or something like that. I was completely fresh.
Right. And it's totally my personality to take in strays.
And it's totally my personality to trick people into being my friends.
So he said, I'm looking to meet new people. And I said, too bad you weren't here last weekend because Mike across the street had a Memorial Day party.
There was all these hot people. It was so good. We ended up having an orgy later in the evening.
But you missed it. And it only comes around once a century. So we had a nice little chat. And I think that was kind of it at that point.
Yes.
And then my memory, it's been so many years, was you came over one day and knocked on my door and asked if I wanted to go downtown Boulder and watch a basketball game.
Yes, because I was still watching sports back then, and I didn't have a TV, and I wasn't planning on having a TV. And
Good for you.
if I wanted to watch a game, I had to go somewhere and order a drink or a bite to eat and watch it on a screen.
And I said, that sounds really fun, but I'm going to Las Vegas for my unbachelorette party.
Yes.
So I had gotten divorced and had decided to have a fun time with it in Vegas.
Yes, I'm sure I've said something like, "Tell me more. I want to know all about this."
Right, exactly. Yeah. So then the next way we bonded, I think, is I mentioned I was getting ready to throw a party. Mm-hmm. And you, being the nerdy professor that you are, said, "There's research about how to make parties more fun."
Yes.
So you offered to help make my party more fun.
Yes, that's right. I actually came by and it was, I don't know if you had planned it, but sorry we don't exactly remember everything about this, but I was like, it helps to have a theme.
Yep. You said it helps to have a theme, and it helps to tell people this is going to be such a fun party, because they come to the party all amped up, like this is going to be such a fun party. Mm-hmm. So the theme ended up being a prankster party. So you had to bring a practical joke to the party.
That's right. And then among other things, I'm not giving away all of those secrets about how to throw a good party.
Okay.
But you threw a great party that night.
It was so fun.
Yes. And it was fun. And then we just sort of continued on.
Oh, yeah. It was, I don't think we missed a beat after that. Yeah. It was like we were just great friends after that.
Yeah. And at one point we went in and we were hosting a condo for a group of people in the Denver metropolitan area, trips and things. And I survived Julie's subsequent marriage, and she came back. She never left, actually.
I was going to say, I'm not one of those people.
Yeah, Julie is not. So there are two types of people in this world. There are the people who get involved in a relationship and maintain their friendships, and Julie is one of those people. And the other one is the person who gets into a relationship and then forgets all of their friends until the relationship ends, and then comes back, sometimes acting as if nothing happened.
Right. Yep.
And neither of us is that type of person. So let's actually start with a definition, because as you mentioned, I'm a nerd. I think it's important to define what is a friend if we want to try to talk about what makes a friend remarkable and how to make a remarkable friend. And I want to say this very clearly. I think the term is making a remarkable friend. I don't think that friends are naturally remarkable or not.
Oh.
I think it's the interaction of the two people that makes a friend a remarkable friend.
I like that. That's a totally different twist than I was expecting.
And you know what? I just made it up.
Right now?
Yes.
On the fly?
This is what I...
You're so smart.
Say that again. What'd you say? I missed it. Yeah. It's an interaction. So we're going to talk a little bit about that thing. And my point is this, is that you're not a remarkable friend to other people, right? You're not a remarkable friend to all of your friends.
Oh.
I'm not a remarkable friend to all of my friends. But for most of my friends, I am. For most of your friends, you are. In the sense that, like, it's an exchange.
Yeah, and I guess there's different level of friends. Exactly, this is what you're saying. So
Yes.
the A team gets the remarkable Julie. and the B team gets a less remarkable version. I think, right. but it's kind of true. It's just a little bit less engagement or less, not as close, not seeing those people as frequently or being in touch on a super regular basis.
Yeah, I don't have some category. I don't have a color system for my friends. You know what I mean? But there is sort of that sort of there's these people who are sort of inner circle. I have a friend that if I'm in a foreign country and I get thrown in jail, I'm going to call him.
Okay.
You're not my first call.
Oh, that's probably wise.
But, and so I'm like, dude, he knows he's getting the call too.
Okay.
And so, and then there's people who like, it's like a mountain biking friend that you might have that you see, once every few months and, I haven't talked to so-and-so in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about these definitions. So the Cambridge Dictionary defines a friend as, and I am, abbreviating these, so I'm hitting the highlights. Cambridge Dictionary, a person who you know well and who you like a lot, but is usually not a member of your family. Usually not. Okay. Usually not a member of your family.
Okay.
It's interesting, right? Because I think of the definition of friend sort of like the definition of pornography that the Supreme Court has, which is you know it when you see it. Okay. Right? Or you know it when you feel it. Uh-huh.
When you get that little tingle.
I don't know. I'm not sure it's that. That's a sexual friendship, Julie, not a regular friendship.
You give me non-sexual tingles.
Oh, that's so kind. We're seriously bonding here.
I'm just trying to be funny.
That's good. It's good. It's a benign violation. Merriam-Webster dictionary. This is a partial definition. The first definition says, one attached to another by affection or esteem.
Interesting.
And number two, it says one that is not hostile. So it's the opposite.
Anti-hostile.
Yeah. So
good.
So then it says like, is he a friend or an enemy? Sort of friend or foe. You're one or the other kind of thing. And then the third one says one that favors or promotes something such as a charity. This trend has alarmed friends of the liberal arts, right? So, friends of the university, friends of the thing.
Right. Okay.
So really it's attached to another by affection or esteem. It's there. So
wait, what's the Facebook definition of friends?
Anybody who will accept your request. It's a low bar.
Yes, it is.
Really, yeah. It really shouldn't be Facebook friends. It should be Facebook, that person accepted my friend's request.
Right.
Yes, that's right. So I have my own definition of not what is a friend, but what makes a good friend.
Okay.
And this harkens all the way back to a conversation that we had in the Dating Friends and Sleeping with Strangers episode, which was early on, like number 9.
That was a funny one.
One of my favorites. So do you want to hear these, or do you have some ideas about what makes a good friend?
I'd like to. You prepared. I did not prepare.
For once, Julie has a napkin in front of her with some stuff written down on it, and I actually have printed out sheets.
My phone was dying, so I had to write it on a napkin.
It's no problem. So these are my criteria for, let's not say a good friend, let's say a remarkable friend.
Yeah, that's what we're aiming for here.
That's right. So the first one is, and I'm not sure the right word yet. So I've been playing around with language a lot with this podcast. So originally the word was energizing.
I like it.
And I do too. The issue though is that like energizing has this feeling of arousal. Like it obviously energizing feels positive. But it also feels sort of like high intensity. Like
I agree.
To use Kim, her friend's thing is like a high vibration. That's there.
Energetic vibration.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so I was thinking like maybe it's like they're attractive, not in the sense of physically attractive, but there's an attraction that's there. There's a pull towards you, like magnets. You just find yourself gravitating towards this person.
Yes.
And then the last word is appealing. they hold some appeal
Okay.
for you that's there. But you get that idea. It's getting back, I think, to the Cambridge Dictionary. This is someone you like a lot. Merriam-Webster is affection, or esteem that's there. So I think that first of the 4 criteria match the dictionary thing. But that may make them a friend, but it doesn't make them remarkable per se. You need some other things. Mm-hmm. So the next one is trustworthiness.
That's huge.
It's huge. You just that's the difference between a friend and a foe. A foe is not trustworthy. An enemy is not trustworthy.
Right.
A friend has to act with integrity. And they should keep the secrets that you ask them to keep.
Yes.
They should act not only in their best interest, but in your best interest.
Yep.
And so on. And I have to say, for me, the second one is harder to find than the first. I think it's pretty easy to find people who are sort of energizing, appealing, that you're drawn to.
Right. But
to have them have that trustworthiness. And because it's so easily, you know what it is? You know what the saying about a drop of tar in a barrel of wine spoils the barrel of wine?
Right.
Trustworthiness works like that.
Right.
Right. You do one thing that suggests that I can't trust you. Now, why should I trust anything?
Right.
In that sense. So it's a lot more tenuous. Whereas I'm not always energizing, am I? I'm not always appealing.
No.
That doesn't, I got to put together several days of being a turd before you're going to get rid of me.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're trustworthy to the end. I mean, incredibly.
Yeah, thank you. And I expect it. I'm on the lookout for it. I listen to the stories that people tell. I listen to how they, if I'm with a person who's like a friend or a developing friend or a candidate or something like that, and they're just shit talking one of their other friends, or they're telling secrets or stories or whatever.
Yeah, they're giving you the information. Yeah,
is going off.
This may tie into another thing you have on your list, but the trustworthiness is not only keeping the secrets, but can I trust you to be there for me when I need you, friend? I think that and to be supportive and things like that. So I'm sure that's on your list in some form or another.
Number 3.
Okay.
Reliable.
Yes. Good.
So yes, you anticipated it perfectly. Do you show up when you say you're going to show up?
Yeah, that's huge.
Right? Are you canceling plans? Do you follow through?
Right.
Yeah. And so I feel like those two are closely related. Mm-hmm. And in part because there is something about, and I know this is something that you and I have talked about, and I suspect a lot of people have, which is, look, I expect people to be selfish in this following way. I expect them to look out for their interests, that they pursue a good life, that they try to avoid pain and seek out pleasure. And it's why I say that married people are just as selfish as single people, because they're pursuing their good life in that sense. However, there are limits to it, which is I have a serious do no harm policy of selfishness.
Yes, that's right? Good.
So no one else in the world is worse off because I'm pursuing my good life.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
And that's what I quote you all the time on this: do what makes you happy without harm.
That's right. So that's the thing, is like, I recognize I take this to an extreme sometimes. Like, do you know where I take it to an extreme?
When someone cancels.
Yes. Or they keep showing up late.
Yeah.
Things.
Right.
And so, because I just feel like I try to differentiate. Is this person late because they're just like that sort of artistic, creative person who they're just not good at being on top of things? Or are they the late person where they value their time over the time of everybody else?
If you said, I'll give you $1,000 if you're on time, they'd be on time.
Yes. That's right. I mean, except for the people who are just so bad about it. And in general though, but that's an example of reliability. It's not a major one, but it is something that I recognize that I'm on the far end of timeliness.
Right.
But it's, again, I'm on the lookout, and my own personal story is I didn't always have the family to hang on to and to rely on. And I moved around a lot. I move around a lot. I'm in motion a lot. And so I very quickly learned that my friend's network was a support system for me. And it was one that I play a role in other people's support systems. And so I think I was sort of unusually into seeking out friendships. Not like pulling levers and all this stuff. It was always genuinely about enjoying first.
Connection.
But the idea is like, oh, these people, like I have a friend, we joke, it's not a joke, but if I get cancer and I'm terminal, she and I are flying to Switzerland to euthanize me.
Okay.
And she can stay as long as she wants in the 5-star hotel. You know what I mean?
Nice.
As payment for like, enjoy the view of the Alps and just bring my ashes back. Kind of thing. And like, that's not something that I guess I could ask a family member to do, but that's our pact.
Yeah. Nice.
That's our pact. Nice.
Nice.
That's a good way to go, Pete.
Yeah. No,
there are worse
sense.
ways. There are worse ways. And then the last one, the fourth one, is a new one that I discovered right around that previous episode, Dating Friends and Sleeping with Strangers. And that is, again, I don't know exactly the right word, but I like the word supportive. That is, they celebrate your victories, they celebrate your wins, and they commiserate on your losses.
Yeah.
And they're not competitive. Like, they're cooperative, they're not competitive.
Yes.
And so, and I think that is independent of those other things. Right? You can be trustworthy, you can be reliable, you can be appealing. But if you're kind of competing all the time, if it's too much about you, and there are times where like, here, you know what it is? In the Julie and Pete friendship, sometimes Julie is the star.
Right.
And sometimes Pete is the star.
Yes.
Right? In that way. And so when Julie is the star, if it's a comedy, we're celebrating. If it's a tragedy, we're commiserating.
Yes. Right.
And vice versa.
Yeah. And there's no like elbowing off the stage of stardom because someone's jealous or wants to be in the spotlight all the time. And there are people who are that way.
That's right. And there's not an exchange there. They're taking a lot and they're not giving a lot.
Right.
And it looks something like this. Actually, let's play a little game.
Okay.
Julie, share with me some good news. Maybe pretend you're telling me about your new company. This is, by the way, I'm not doing free advertising. This is just a good way to do this because I know Julie has good news.
Yes.
Okay.
So last week.
So say, Pete,
Pete. I've been working on this project of getting this business launched, and we were under a lot of pressure to get it done in a timely manner. And our website launched last week for Bachelor Girl Productions.
Oh, that's really cool. I know exactly how that feels because, I've been working on Solo for so long, and we just got this press hit in the Washington Post. And isn't that really fun when you have something you've been working on and it works out so well?
Yeah, congrats. You stole my thunder.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is a shitty friend.
Right. That is not a remarkable friend.
Okay. And then we're going to do the other one is tell me something bad that's happened.
Something bad that's happened.
Or something you're struggling with or something like that. You can make it up.
I fired a friend 2 weeks ago.
Oh, really? You fired a friend? Mm-hmm. Oh my God. I know exactly what that feels like. A few years ago, you remember Todd? And then I go on and tell the whole story about, right? Ladies and gentlemen, non-remarkable friend.
Right.
In that way. Instead of, wait, you had to fire a friend? That's incredible. Tell me all about it. How are you doing?
Yeah, which is exactly what you said when I told you that.
Is that right?
Pretty much.
So prior to this podcast, Julie told me about this situation, and we can't tell the whole thing, but we'll talk about it briefly.
Okay, later. Well, it's one of my.
It's part of your next thing.
It's one of the notes on my napkin.
Super. Yes. I have two go-to phrases.
Okay.
When it comes to those situations, in whether it's celebration or commiseration, I say, "Tell me more. Tell me about it."
Yeah.
And that's it. And then they just shut up.
Yeah, and then that person will just chatter away.
They can tell you as much as they want. And then the other one is, how does that make you feel? Or how are you feeling?
Yeah.
Right? Those are the two most important phrases when it comes to having that moment where Julie or Joe or whoever is the star of this relationship at the moment.
And they feel heard.
Exactly. And this is it's really fun. This is related to one of the chapters that I have in Shtick to Business that's called Cooperate to Innovate. And so it's not a chapter about making friends. It's a chapter about building things and executing ideas. And in it, I talk about how improvisers are so good at navigating uncertain situations, situations where you don't know. When you say, I fired a friend, I have no idea where this is going. What friend, what happened, how are you doing?
Right.
There's all this uncertainty. But improvisers have a certain set of rules which are good at creating a scene out of nothing.
Okay.
And so one of those things is this idea of yes and. That's my tell me more kind of thing. And instead of no, you didn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
Tell me more. But they also have these two other things that I talk about as being critical. One is the perspective that we are all supporting actors. That on this stage, our job is to make everyone else be the star. And if we're all trying to make everyone else be the star, naturally, organically, at some point, someone will star. Depending on the nature of the story, the situation, the context, the way the improv scene goes.
But it's building everyone up.
Exactly. Yes. And it's why friends are energizing.
Yes.
And they're appealing because it's not just a charismatic figure telling a story. It's that they also help you feel uplifted.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is listening. It's just, if you're going to create a scene out of nothing, you need to be listening to what people say versus, I'm just going to let Julie tell this story and then I'm just going to tell her a better story about how I fired a friend 5 years before she did.
Right. Yeah.
And that's just really annoying.
Listening is a skill to be worked on.
I know. I'm working on it. You're like, let me look at my napkin.
I'm like, that's on my napkin.
So any reactions to that before we get into this a little bit? So what I want to do from this point on, I want to hear what you think about what we've said so far. Then we're going to talk about some tips.
Okay. So my reaction, I've been kind of interrupting you along the way and not listening.
That's not true.
But I love that we're talking about this. And, I've known for a couple of weeks that we were going to do this episode and having remarkable friends, I sort of did an evaluation of friends in my life.
Can I start naming names and you tell me what column they made?
Well, they all
I'm teasing.
I know, all except for one made the list.
But how many remarkable friends do you think you have?
Oh, that is a good question. Something I've been told is that I'm really good at keeping relationships going and keeping a lot of people in my life. And so I would actually say I have quite a few.
More than 10, less than 50?
No, less than 10. I
Less than 10.
think I have really close, remarkable friends who I'm in regular contact with.
Okay.
Because I think it would be difficult to do that on a larger scale. But I know some people who have like 2 or 3.
Yes.
But I think I'd probably be in the 7, 8 range. You said something earlier when you were talking about your notes that made me think of the story of when I met my very best friend, and I was married at the time, and he wanted to introduce me to this female friend he had, and he told both of us, "You will love each other."
Okay.
And we both said, "I don't need any more friends. I'm good. I have so many close friends. I don't need to meet this person." We both told him that. And he was insistent. No. You guys are going to love each other. This is one of the 2 good things that came out of my marriage because she became my best friend. But we met and it was this instant attraction.
Yeah.
Instant attraction. From the day we met, it was love at first sight. We became best friends. And that was probably 14, 15 years ago. And she moved away, but we have a weekly conversation on the phone. Anyway, I feel like I'm getting a little sidetracked.
No, you're not at all. Actually, I'm writing down a note because I had 3 tips and now I had a 4th that I crossed off and I'm bringing it back from the dead because of this.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I'm going to call back to this story.
Okay.
So you two still, even though she lives in another state, you're in different places in life.
Yeah.
You have a weekly call.
Yes.
And then you travel together sometimes.
We do, and she comes to visit. She hasn't convinced me to go to Missouri yet, but she misses Colorado, so she comes back to Colorado too. And yes, we do travel together also.
No offense to my Kansas City listeners. Or St. Louis listeners. Yes, that's right.
Right.
No worries. They understand.
Yes.
That's great. Okay, so you had this thing, and how long ago was that?
15 years ago.
Yeah, so okay. You're clearly good at maintaining these things. So I want to return. We'll return to that story in a moment.
Okay.
That's there. Any other reactions to hearing about this? So you say 7 or 8. I have many, many more. But I also have spent huge swaths of my life as a single person.
Right.
And because I've moved through the world, I've lived in many different places, done different types of jobs. I sort of pick people up along the way. And I'll talk a little bit more in a moment why I think I'm able to do that.
Well, which is true because like you said, you're on the move a lot. And so when you're having those like semester at sea, of course you're meeting when you worked it. Well, when you traveled it as a student and when you worked it.
Well, I worked it both times, but yes,
both times.
Nonetheless. They're magic. There are things about magical moments that help supercharge friendships.
Right. And experiences together, experiencing things together.
That's right. Have those peak experiences with someone. Now you have this kind of keystone thing that you have in common. It's why like folks went to college together. They have college memories. You even work together with someone. You have those memories. You have that thing that connects you.
Right. Yeah. I'm thinking of a friend I met in prenatal yoga. We were both pregnant, taking yoga together. We saw each other weekly and then we started talking and we became great friends. And the interesting thing is now, because you were in the same place in life at that time, developmentally, you continued. Your kids are about the same age. Right. They were born a day apart from each other.
Yeah, okay. So they are really about the same age.
Yes.
So, they'll be graduating the same time and,
they're teenagers at the same time.
They'll be getting their divorces around the same time and so on.
No, Solo's going to save them.
Let's hope. Okay. So, why are friends important to singles especially? I think we've already alluded to some of these things. I wrote down, you choose them and they choose you. Unlike family. So there's mutual choice. People say, can't choose your family.
Right.
There's this, usually is when someone's in jail or has stolen money from you
right.
or, is like in rehab. Well, can't choose your family.
Right.
It's also, you can't break up with your family.
Right.
Or you can.
Well,
but
some people do.
It's harder to do. And I think, in a time where people are mobile, people are moving around, and singles are more mobile than non-singles.
Right.
As I said, I moved to Colorado. I had no one I was close to. I had acquaintances. I had maybe people, coworkers, but I didn't have that person. I didn't have my emergency contact. Right. And at various times I've been at a doctor's office and wrote Julie Nirvelli, unbeknownst to you, as my emergency contact.
I get a call.
You're like Pete's in the hospital. And then of course singles don't have the one. They don't have that one person who's expected to be there all the time.
Right.
And so they need the ones, to quote Bella DePaulo from episode 2. So I asked Julie to come up with 3 tips for developing remarkable friendships. I've come up with 3, but because it's my podcast, I actually have 4 now.
Okay.
To get back
I'll allow it.
To your story. Thank you. But I'm gonna still have you go first.
Well, we touched on. Do you want me to go now?
Yeah, let's see. Whatever one you want to start with.
Okay. We touched on it, and I have listen more than you talk.
You're doing a great job at that here.
Thanks.
I'm like, people are like, shut up.
No, it's your podcast.
I also prepped.
You're on stage.
I get in trouble.
You're in the spotlight.
I get in trouble sometimes. People are like, I really wish you would let your guests talk more. And I'm like, I know, but I did a whole day's research preparing for that episode.
And they brought 3 ideas. their homework was limited. That makes sense.
Okay, sorry. Number 1.
Yeah, listen more than you talk, and which is combined with make someone feel important. And so by listening, you make people feel important. And I think, like you were saying, in that situation where people are bashing their other friends, you're listening more than you're talking, and you're gathering information. I mean, obviously, I don't know what stage of a new friend we're talking about when you first meet somebody or somebody along the way, but everyone wants to feel important. And so I think that that's a key part of friendship is my remarkable friends make me feel important.
Yes, that's wonderful. And it connects to what we were saying earlier about these improvisers who are listening in order to create something out of nothing. You don't have to fill all that time talking. Right. Mm-hmm. And I just want to go on record for something like, this is not, Peter and Julie's system to trick someone into becoming your friend.
Right.
And, 9 steps to meeting your best friend. It's not, I'm not saying this is some ruthless cutthroat system, but as I like to say, it helps to have a plan.
And be thoughtful about it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so if you're struggling making friends, then it's especially worthwhile to think it through and be intentional, to use, Julie loves that word, intentional,
I do love that word.
To live an intentional life. Yes, when you were in college, you could kind of stumble your way into friendships.
Right.
Everybody was in the same place. You're living on a floor with 50 other people and so on. But as you get older, it really does get harder. Mm-hmm. People aren't as available. They're busier. No thanks. I already have plenty of friends.
Right.
Right? That kind of thing.
Exactly.
And I always joke. I always talk about how I force my friendship on people. And so they're like, yeah, he didn't know it, but he was going to become my friend.
I think that might be what happened to me.
Yeah. I was enforcing with you because
I'm kidding.
You were so easy about saying yes to things.
Right.
Like, if you weren't going on your bachelorette party,
I would have gone.
You would have gone and went down the street, and you know what I mean? Even
though I never watch sports.
I get it.
It would have been just a time to hang out with you and get to know you.
Which is very nice. Or my guess is you would have said something like, I'm just really not into watching sports, but, I know a great hike. Next time you go on a hike, why don't we Why don't we go? That kind of thing, which would have been yes-anding or
and.
no-anding, kind of in a healthy way. All right, so I'm going to say the one that I just thought of, and that is that friendships aren't really about love at first sight.
Generally,
They're
I agree.
generally not love at first sight. What it is there might be that instant, like you were talking about, this guy goes, you two need to meet each other. You meet each other. There is a connection. There is a spark. There's energy. There's appeal. There's attractiveness. I like that person.
Yes.
I've had that happen a lot, kind of thing. Oh, I'm impressed by that. Oh, I like that person. That's fast. But the rest of it's slow.
Right.
Right? The rest of it is slow because you can't figure out trustworthiness after spending being with someone 3 times or 4 times.
Right.
Reliability is... So it takes time. Friends are developed. You're not, you can be born into a family.
Right.
And those connections are all there. But friends take some time to develop. And so I think the idea is, be patient. It can be slow. It doesn't have to, you don't have to get this all sorted right away.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Which is slightly off topic, but why do people not date that way? Right? I mean, that is such a good analogy for take it slow, get to know somebody, you wait and see if they're trustworthy, not just I'm lecturing myself right now.
I'm like, Julie, I don't have this problem.
Don't just give them trust when they haven't, you need to let it unfold and see what kind of person that is. Anyway.
Yes, especially, that's right. No, but I think these things are, if you look at the list of criteria that I have for a good friend, it is also for a good lover, a good partner that has romantic, intimate elements to it. Right. The only difference between a friend and a sexual friend is you bang the latter.
Yes.
Yeah. Or they bang you, however you want to define it. Okay, so that was my quick addition back in. What do you got next?
I have, which we've again kind of been talking about, is uncover common interests, but not just interests like mountain biking. That's easy for me to connect with somebody, but also common experiences. So say someone's parent passed away or something where you can have a vulnerable, deeper connection and get to know someone through that vulnerability. So not just interests, but experiences as well.
That's great. Well, the way my connection to this one is your friend doesn't have to be everything to you.
Right.
I have different friends for different things. And so depending on the problem I might have, or the thing I want to celebrate, or the thing I want to commiserate, I make one call versus another call.
Right.
I have friends I call for dating advice. I have friends I call for work advice. I have some friends I call for a hike. I have other friends who I call, to go out and have coffee and sit for 3 hours and talk.
Right. Which is the experience piece where you and I don't connect on mountain biking, which is an interest of mine, but we connect on experiences.
This is so good. Julie, we were actually just telling this story recently. I convinced Julie to cut the 9-item list from a dating profile down to 3 items. And the first item, I was like, "What's the most important thing?" And you said,
"Mountain biking."
I don't mountain bike, so. We were like, okay, well, we're still friends, even though the most important activity in Julie's life, I have 0 interest in.
Right.
What is the second item?
Live music.
Guess what?
You don't like live music.
I don't. I love music. I love going outside. I love going out. I just don't like the combination of those 2 things.
Yeah. I think in our 16-year friendship, how many times have we been to Red Rocks together? Once. I think it was once.
That's right. Yeah. And I mostly went for the tailgating beforehand.
Right.
And so I would say this, Red Rocks is my is my one exception. So for people who don't know Red Rocks, it's it's between Denver and Boulder. It's like a 10,000 seat outdoor venue, music
amazing.
venue. It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's one of the top 10 places in the world to watch live music.
Yeah, it's spectacular.
It's spectacular. And so I will go see a band that I'm sort of so on just because it's Red Rocks.
Right.
So that's here. And then the third thing was something that was completely inappropriate and had this double entendre and made men have to pay attention to Julie's profile. And it's up to you, Julie, if you want to say what it was.
Nobody better steal it.
I don't think I'll tell you this. Most people don't have the
Cojones
to steal this one.
cockfighting.
It took a little convincing for Julie to put that one in there because A, she's not a cockfighter, and B, she doesn't go spectate cockfighting
Or any sports.
sports for that matter. And also, by the way, I don't either, so we don't share that in common. Also, but that was one of the best dating app profiles you've ever had.
Oh yeah, it's been hysterical.
Okay, so that's outstanding. I'm going to go with mine now.
Okay.
And mine's a little bit deep, and it's 3 letters. TRY.
Okay.
Try.
Uh-huh.
So you don't stumble into remarkable friendships. They require work. In the same way that any other valuable relationship requires work, remarkable friendships do. So I wrote down a couple things. It's like, make plans. Mm-hmm. And so some people are better about making plans than other people. And so if you want to develop, if you're like, I want him to be my friend, one great way is to call him and say, hey, do you want to do X? Right? So try by making plans. The other one is look for potential friends. That is, keep an eye out. Mm-hmm. When you go to a dinner party, there's someone you're like, oh, I had a really nice conversation with Joan. Maybe you reach out to Joan and just tell her you had a nice time talking to her.
Yeah.
Or invite her to coffee sometimes. But the idea is, most people don't sizzle. And if you find someone who has some sizzle, it's worth it to
pay
follow.
attention.
Yes.
We have a mutual friend who happened in this very scenario.
Who is that?
So I was moving from Boulder.
Okay.
And I hired a moving company because I was moving to Denver.
Yes, indeed. This is so good. Oh my God, this is so good.
And one of the movers was just the nicest, funniest, coolest guy.
Yes.
And after we loaded the truck, so when I was moving to Denver, we were just moving all the stuff into the house I had purchased in Denver into the garage because the people needed to stay there for 2 more weeks. So he said, hey, if you need help moving stuff from the garage into the house, I'm be happy to give you my number. And I was like, this guy, he is just such a nice guy. He just needs to be in our group. And his name is Terry, and he listens to the solo episodes, even though he's not solo.
Big shout out to Terry. Terry's like
Terry.
one of our number 1 supporters. It's incredible.
Awesome dude. And that is one of those examples of just pay attention. And he's just seemed like a great guy, and he's been a great friend. And he unfortunately also moved from Colorado, so don't see him that much. But
you remain in touch.
Yes, we miss you, Terry.
That's a really good one. I've had this happen where I just like, oh yeah, and then you just kind of say, all right, so to try, look for it, make plans. Now this one I think it's probably a little more challenging than and it's probably Pete specific more than as I say, call people. I think the phone is a great way to maintain and develop connections with people. Text doesn't do it in the same way that what we're doing, conversation.
Right, of course.
Does. Yeah. And so part of the reason that I have such a big network is I make calls. I call people out of the blue. And you know who I keep calling? The people who pick up the phone. The people who call back.
Right.
Because it has that reciprocity, has that cooperation to it. And the nature of the conversation, the things I talk about with my friend in Maine is different than my friend in Minnesota.
Right.
And depending on time of day, what's going on, I may call one or the other first. That's there. Okay, so that was my next one. Try.
I like it.
What do you got next?
Okay, my third one, what just popped into my head is one of your sayings. Okay, so my third one was be aware of red flags. And this kind of goes back to what we're talking about. Is someone trustworthy? But when someone is not honoring you or feeding your soul, then they're not a remarkable friend, and it might be time to part ways. But you're saying that you use for dating, which applies to this, slow to hire, quick to fire. So taking your time, and when someone is really crossing some boundaries, or like I said, not feeding your soul, then it's time to cut them.
Okay. Do you want to tell your story about firing a friend?
It's a long story. I think it's relevant, and I think I can summarize it. I became more aware of her selfishness. We had so much fun connecting on many levels, mountain biking, being single, our daughter's same age. And she crossed a line. She got upset with me and sent a nasty text. And that was really upsetting to me. And then she tried to backpedal a little bit, but not that I can't forgive somebody for making a mistake, but it's been leading up to this. She also is the type when she gets a boyfriend, dumps the friends.
Yes. There's a series of behaviors that don't suggest.
Right. So then when the boyfriend goes away, she wants the friendship back. But when she'd get a boyfriend, it would leave a huge void for me because we were really close. And so like your guest, Amy, from the Relationship Escalator episode said, when people do that, why would you keep investing in that friendship when at any moment
it's so tenuous? Right. They're not reliable.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, he falls in it. And it's interesting is I don't think you're slow to hire, quick to fire with your friendships.
No.
Actually, and I'm not sure that I feel like that. I'm not sure that is as important. I think it should be slow to hire, slow to fire.
With a friend.
In the sense that you give them a chance to no, it's like slow to hire, medium to fire.
Right.
Or something.
Well, and I should say we did have a conversation about this, and I said, I feel abandoned when you get a boyfriend and you disappear, and she had that conversation gone differently, maybe we would still be friends, but she didn't take responsibility. She didn't hear me. She wasn't listening to what I was saying. I said it in a very kind, loving way. She got defensive and basically said, I would think a good friend would give someone the space to explore that relationship. And of course you give some space, but you don't want to be completely dumped as a friend for the 5 months you're dating this guy. And then you come knocking on my door again. So we did have a discussion about it. It didn't go in a way that I felt was worth continuing the friendship.
Yeah, I think, and I think that you were good about setting a boundary in that way, and probably could stand to a little bit more in life.
Oh yeah,
as someone who's has seen the repeat on these things.
Yes, but working on the boundary setting.
But I think this is something that I have to point out for people. One of the inspiring things about Julie is you're in your middle-aged years and you're still working on yourself. You recognize you have flaws, you have challenges, you have patterns that don't always serve you, and you're actually still working on them instead of just throwing up your hands and wondering why things don't always work out.
Right, yeah.
And so I compliment you for that.
Thank you.
So I have we have another mutual friend who is getting divorced, and he has not been in my life much since
But
his
you used to
marriage,
be.
and his family and so on. And Julie said, "Are you going to take him back?"
Because they used to be really tight.
Yeah.
Really tight.
Yeah.
Besties.
And what did I say?
Yeah.
Yep, I'm going to take him back. I love him. I'm going to take him back.
Yeah.
I understand. But I wouldn't let it happen again.
Uh-huh.
You know, that kind of
Right.
thing. So if you're listening, you know who you are. I'm waiting for the call. Okay, that's good. I like that. I like that a lot. Now, what's interesting is my advice is almost in contrast, is almost contradicts yours.
Oh, good.
There's a slight difference.
Okay.
Mine is accept flaws.
Uh-huh.
Your friends don't need to be perfect.
Right. Agree.
You know, not in the way that maybe you want your life partner to be perfect. Mm-hmm. You know, and so to me, as long as the person, energizing, trustworthy, reliable, supportive, cooperative, however we're saying it, they can be flawed in a lot of other ways.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like maybe they're a little bit cheap.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Maybe they're a spendthrift. Maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe they have some annoying qualities. Maybe they're not good in a group.
Uh-huh.
You know, whatever that might be. In college, I had a friend say, "Pete, you have a high tolerance for strange people."
That's awesome.
And I said, "Thank you." Like I'm not sure they meant it as a compliment, but I took it as a compliment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, he's a weird dude. But you know what? Anytime I call that guy and say, "You want to go to the gym? Do you want to go out for a drink?" He says yes.
Yeah.
And he shows up and he's present and he's a good time and he's someone I can talk to and he's all those things. I don't care that he's a weird dude.
Yeah.
Doesn't affect me negatively.
Right.
Kind of thing. And his weirdness, I wouldn't bring it around someone who the weirdness would affect.
Or would be uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That
Makes
kind of
sense.
thing.
Yeah.
And so, but I think our two pieces of advice can coexist. And what do you think the difference is?
Well, this is perfect that you brought this up because this friend who I just fired, I was already questioning our friendship before the nasty text came. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, this is not I heard this is an hour-long story.
Yeah, it's a long story.
So the issue is this text is not the only thing; it's a straw.
Exactly what I was going to say. So I had decided, okay, she has these flaws, but the good outweighs the bad, and I'm willing to accept her
Good for you.
as she is and not try to change her.
Mm-hmm.
But then the text came, and I was like, I can't put myself in this situation where I get blasted in a text. Mm-hmm. That's not okay with me. And it went on. It was a series of texts. So anyway, I agree with you. Recognize the flaws, accept someone as who they are. And then if they're just crossing the line or pushing your boundaries, then do what you need to do.
As Liz Lemon on 30 Rock would say, that's a deal breaker.
Yeah.
Yes,
right.
There are some of those kinds of things.
Right.
So I agree. So to me, it's like, these are not, first of all, I think we already do ourselves a disservice in our dating lives. For the people who are dating and looking for something more serious, looking for something which I find somewhat real. Like other relationships aren't real. There's one relationship that's a real relationship and all the other ones are not real.
Right.
That's insulting. But the standards aren't as high. Because you're not spending 24/7 with this person. You're not, you know what I mean? But I do believe, look, that person can have flaws, but do I want them in my foxhole? Do I want them on my team? If I could keep coming up with metaphors if people need me to decide yes or no.
Right.
That's there. Do they have my back? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So the last thing is, and I probably should just cut it out of here, but it's a nice way to put a bow on this conversation. Okay. And it goes back to the guy who said, you two need to meet.
Uh-huh.
And I say, introduce your friends, but don't expect them to become friends.
Right.
And so the idea is that this is a team. And so how good is it when I introduce friend A to friend B and they become friends? Now we've got the three of us, a trio that's there.
Three Musketeers.
That's right. So I have a friend who says he or she is a PLU, people like us. And not like us in that they look like us, but like have our attitude and belief and way about the world kind of thing. Right?
One of our peeps. That's what I usually say.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So if you have two people like that, why not introduce them? And I'm on the lookout for that. Like, well, if my friend who I believe has great judgment thinks this way of that person, I'm going to give that person a try.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to give them a try. Okay, so that's good. So anything else that comes to mind as we're talking about these things?
I don't think so. And we were going to talk about ideas for future series. So I think we kind of covered what makes a remarkable friend and how to think about friends. And so
so let me try to recap a few of these things. Right. So friendships are about choice, and they are clearly very important because they're part of this sort of network. Not only do friends provide entertainment, but they also have utility.
Right.
So they help you move when you need to move. They help euthanize you when you need to be euthanized. They can step in and provide a valuable space in life that used to be reserved just for family or just for a partnership.
Right.
That's there. And they're especially important for singles, especially for a mobile single who may be going to new places and so on. And that I think as we haven't used this word, but developing friends is a skill.
Absolutely.
And is a skill you can develop and something you can work through, especially by trying it. And then while also maintaining good standards for what you expect of this person. And of course, holding yourself, this is the most important thing, is holding yourself to these standards or higher. I mean, if you expect your friends to be reliable, you better damn well be reliable.
Yes.
If you expect your friends to be trustworthy, you damn well better be trustworthy. And if you expect your friends to be fun, guess what?
You better be fun.
You better try to be fun. You know what I mean? And I want to be careful about fun because, I have friends who we have very deep, serious conversations sometimes. It's not joyous and jovial and jokey
all the time
either. And that person is important to me because there's that magnetism that's there. And that, so as a result, this skill takes work, takes development. And it's not that thing. I will say this. I think one of the grossest things about marriage is that it allows people to be lazy.
Yep.
Well, I got this locked down.
Right. Now this person is my everything.
That's right. And so, but friendships don't have that. And so they require constant maintenance and so on. And so
nurturing.
Yeah. So I want to challenge the listener is think about a friend of yours that you think's remarkable and pick up the phone and give them a call and make some plans. Or at least give them a call and just say, how are you doing?
Tell me more.
Tell me everything.
I love that. Can people leave comments and say, I reached out to my friend from...
Yeah. You know what you should do? If you've had this experience, you should join the solo community at petermcgraw.org. So it's invite only, but it's a short 3-question thing. I've been accepting everyone into the community.
You've just been invited.
You've just been invited. So I would love to hear from people say, I reached out to a friend I haven't talked to in a long time. One of the striking things about remarkable friends, it's like not a day has passed.
Right.
It's such an incredible feeling.
It is.
To have.
Love it. Oh, good. I hope people do that. That's fun.
I hope people do that too. All right. So I'm going to do a few more episodes around this topic. I think this is a great sort of kickoff, defining what a friend is, thinking about the criteria. At least these are our criteria. Other people might have different criteria. and talking a little bit about the process and the pitfalls. Part of the reason that we are such good friends is because of our soloness.
Right.
You know, I mean, when you were married, we still were good friends, but at least your solo attitude helps a lot in that way. And so I'm looking for those opportunities to try to build communities where you can meet other people who are like you. I mean, I'm doing little things like, we have a new Twitter account, Instagram account called unapologetically_unattached, the longest Twitter account handle Instagram handle out there. And I'm doing profiles of people. We have the Slack channel and so on. So I encourage people to sign up for those things. And that's just dipping a toe in that's there. Yeah,
the profiles are fun. You had a guy from New Zealand on there last week, a couple days ago. And it was so interesting to just read about him. I thought it was cool.
I think it's great. Yeah. And I think it's inspirational. That's energizing.
Yes.
Okay. That's great. So Julie, as always, I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too. And thanks for having me on again. These are always fun.
I'm going to give you a break for a while.
Okay, good.
I'm afraid you're going to demand a contract. All right, everyone. I hope this was helpful. And we'll catch you next week with the next installment of How to Make Remarkable Friends.
Have a great day.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to Solo, the single person's guide to a remarkable life. For more about our guests and show notes, go to petermcgraw.org. Please subscribe and share with your single friends.